I'm delighted to welcome today Jacob Reimann from Inner Freedom. Welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here.
Well, Jacob, you're one of the very few people I know nothing about. We've never met before. I have had a poke about your website. It's very interesting. So I'm going to be relying on you to guide. Oh, your cat's appeared. Mine's
My
on
cat, yes.
Cats
Don't
are
worry.
wonderful. Okay. That's always a sign I find if people have cats or dogs, they're okay. So
I've
you've
passed the
you've passed.
test.
Yeah, you have, absolutely. So Jacob, tell us about Inner Freedom. What is it and how you came to create it? So it's your website, innerfreedom.uk.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's a website. It's an online healing community where people can learn the healing process, learn how to heal themselves, be part of the community, and basically, learn how to heal their challenges, mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual.
So what do you mean by those categories that you just mentioned?
So basically, what the healing process I've kind of learned and worked out is a form of sort of energy work, body work, that works on the mind, body, and spirit. Basically, you learn how to get enough energy from around you, compress it, and then direct it to where on yourself that needs healing, whether it's trauma or some kind of emotional block or spiritual block. So you can learn how to heal yourself, and it's very effective, and it's what I've used to heal my trauma and lots of other things, and it's something I've sort of developed that people can now. I'm just kind of launching. I've got the first bits of teaching ready, and people can already register, sign up, and start learning how to heal themselves.
Sounds fabulous, but it sounds also a bit like Reiki. How does
Right.
it differ from Reiki? You said about getting energy and directing the energy.
Okay, so Reiki is quite. I think Reiki is something that is also works on an energetic level, but it's quite. And I'm not a Reiki person, so I don't want to sound judgmental or anything, but it's quite. It's not as active. It's quite kind of gentle and passive, and you just let the energy do what it needs to do, and it's quite kind of I suppose very gentle way of doing things. Whereas with what I'm doing, which is it's basically it's called Neigong. It's like a Chinese inner transformation process, and it's very active. And it can be quite tough sometimes when you actually start looking at what's causing your suffering, whether it's food allergies or not being able to heal from your trauma, from your psychosis, schizophrenia, those kinds of things. It's a very it takes a lot of attention and focus and energy to start shifting the parts of ourselves that are creating our suffering. Yeah.
So Neigong, how are you spelling that? I've never heard of that one.
So you've heard of Qigong, maybe?
Yes.
Right. So Qigong is the kind of external form where you're doing the hand movements, and you may be brushing your meridians, and you're tapping your energy points, maybe EFT, that kind of thing, where you're sort of tapping and saying affirmations. Even though I deeply love and accept myself. So that's like an EFT. So that's working kind of on an external basis on your energy system, whereas Neigong is the inner work. So you basically learn how to create, generate and create energy using different breathing and energy techniques. So you sort of create a store of compressed chi in your stomach, and then you learn how to, how your energy system works and where your organs are, and your brain, parts of your brain and nervous system. And once you have that sort of concentrated energy, then you learn how to basically apply that with your mind inside, into your energy system and body to actually do that healing.
Wow, sounds absolutely fascinating and very in depth, as you alluded to. So, how long did it take to learn this Nagon?
It's been years in the making. I've kind of had my own complex PTSD and schizophrenia to heal, and I needed to find a way to do it that worked. And I've tried all kinds of different things, like talk therapy and body work and breath work and exercises and qigong, and I just kept on kind of experimenting, going, God, how do I heal this kind of insanity, this craziness that this place that I was in, this part of me that was really broken and traumatized. And I just was so over years of trial and error, I kind of worked out, well, I need this is what came of it. So it's a combination of that and different spiritual practices, which I've kind of brought together in a kind of, well, what works? How do you heal deep trauma and psychosis in a way that's safe and as quickly as possible? Because I was sitting there going, oh my God, this is terrible, and I don't know what your experience is, but when you've got when you are in a place that's really challenging, and reality is quite difficult to kind of be in the here and now in a kind of sane, rational place, then you need something really effective to really get to what is that inside us that is stopping us from being healed.
Which makes perfect sense in a rational world, but when your mind is in an irrational state, how the hell do you start? Where do you start? How do you get out of it?
Well, so that's the point. So obviously you start with breath work, you start with grounding work, and you start to you need to sort of come out of your head, come out of here and into your body. Yeah. So that's a kind of everyone would sort of say, well, yeah, of course you need to start there. So once I started doing the breath work, and my first real release of my trauma was when I went on a weekend festival, and they were doing some breath work there, and I just for the first time I just suddenly had this kind of surge of energy, and my body was just kind of convulsing with my first kind of release of the trauma. So then I was like, hang on a minute, that's really good, because I was doing other techniques before which were not kind of as based on the body, but were kind of more based on affirmations and intention and a bit of energy work. So I was like, hang on, that was and I was just convulsed there on the grass for like 10 minutes, just couldn't move. So then it was just really a kind of development of that, and looking at the kind of Chinese, inner work, and looking at spiritual principles, when and getting to that point where I was like, I need something bigger than me to kind of heal myself. I can't do it from my own ego. I can't do it from my own psyche, because it's kind of it was too broken to kind of heal itself, if you see what I mean. So then, well, where do you go? So you look at the inner work, and the acquiring healthy energy, acquiring it's basically heavenly chi, and you start to learn how to kind of get it into your system, and to kind of go through your whole system, and start replacing the craziness, the trauma, what's broken with what's healed, and it's a kind of process of doing that.
Fascinating. Take us through your different models on your website, because you've got a whole variety of different steps, haven't you? Starting from online kind of group community type things, right up to extremely in-depth support?
Yeah. So basically, you know, one of the first things to, you know, as part of the healing journey, there's learning your own healing. You know, what is it? How do you do it? So there's a sort of structured online teaching for, you know, being able to do this for yourself. So, you know, the breathing, the energy acquisition, how to do it in your body, learning about your meridian system, your physical, you know, organs, your brain function, how it all works, and then this, you know, finding out, well, where are the blocks? You know, where's the trauma held, for example, or where's the insanity if you've got, you know, mental illness of some kind, whether you've got, you know, as I said, schizophrenia or bipolar, you know, something's causing it inside us, right? You know, whatever it is, everyone's maybe different or whatever, but something's causing it, and it's somewhere in us. So, and then finding out, well, where is it, and how do I actually start to shift it and heal that part of me, that intense emotion, or that intense trauma. Well, it's all emotion, but, you know, unprocessed emotion, you know, terror, all that kind of things, and then learning how to do that, and then looking at your diet, your nutrition, you know, your structure, you know, your pelvic alignment, your cranium, all that kind of stuff. So there's the kind of individual learning, healing learning. Then doing it in a group, healing in a group, is actually much more effective. So it's learning how to heal in a group, whether you can create your own healing groups or join the online healing groups that we offer. And then, you know, connecting to that which is bigger than us. So God, the universe, you know, without getting into, you know, arguments, there's something bigger than us that we're part of, and it's how do you access that for kind of guidance on where you need to go, right? Because, you know, we know when we step out of ourselves what we need to do, but it's how do you do that? So it's that as well. And then with, you know, working with me or one of our other healers, it's you know, somebody to actually guide you and saying, well, you know, you actually that's not right. You need, this is, you know, and sometimes we delude ourselves into thinking things, you know, oh, that's okay, I don't need to go there. And it's like, no, you need to stay on that you know, relationship with yourself, for example. It's not quite right, and you need to stay there, and you need to do the work, and that's what you need to do. So it's getting that, you know, professional guidance from someone, and actually getting that healing from somebody else, so somebody to actually pinpoint where those blocks are and actually help you do that energetically.
So is Nagon something that you've created yourself with the accumulation of things, or is it a known thing?
It's used a lot in you know, Taoist and Buddhists call it something else, but it's basically in energy work, and it's used in spiritual practices and martial arts. So you know, a lot of Chinese, you know, martial artists will be training on how to create, you know, get energy and create an internal energy for fighting, or you can use it for healing. So that, you know, it's the same thing. So it's, you know, thousands of years old. It's called Neigong, Neigong Dan, and you know, Taoists use it for precisely, you know, healing the self, the ego, the shadow, and it's a way of doing that that's you know, time proven over thousands of years.
Wonderful. Were you on medication before you came to this point of?
I wasn't on medication. I was on the verge of going on medication many times, and just something in me was like, okay, I'm kind of, I wasn't very functional, you know. I couldn't really, you know, couldn't really see, you know, I wasn't really here, but something kept on telling me, you know, the medication, and don't get me wrong, I know it's really helpful for lots of people, but something was telling me that's not going to solve it. It's going to put it to rest. I'm going to be able to function, but it's not going to solve underneath what the problem is, you know. And I know a lot of people, spend a lot of time on medication, especially for, PTSD, anxiety, psychosis. And, it's a lifesaver in the right situation, but I just didn't feel it was right for me.
So did something happen, or was it a whole combination of things over a period of years that led to your situation?
It was, childhood trauma, parental trauma. It was, years of abuse, fear, abandonment, all kinds of things, grief, and it just kind of was bottled up when it happened. And then, and it's kind of the healing process of the psyche. There comes a time when it just starts to release it, and you can either do it in a controlled way by learning how to control it and kind of release it kind of safely, or it can just cause all kinds of havoc with people. Yeah.
In the work that I do helping people to reverse serious illness, the biggest failure for people, they get to a certain point of healing, but then because their emotions aren't in check, and I've got lots of people I can refer. I'm not a specialist in emotional health and well-being,
Right.
but I've got lots of people I can refer to. But can I get them to speak to somebody? It's just so difficult because people think that they're okay. And what you were saying about all the different things that led to your situation, grief, abandonment, parental, etc., etc. That's actually pretty normal now. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't have all that kind of stuff to deal with in some way or another when they stand back and reflect on life.
Yeah.
So I think the younger generation now, they all seem to be anxious. They all seem to be, kind of looking for something. They don't know who they are, and that's a big factor as well. So presumably this method helps you to literally find who you are from the inside out.
That's right. And the beauty of it is because it's a spiritual practice in that you're constantly it's something. Well, it's a spiritual practice in terms of it's a kind of, again, I've not been through to Alcoholics Anonymous or narcotics, but there's that kind of surrender to a higher power. But then what does that mean? Well, it's a process, and it's working with something that's bigger than you to kind of so you start to become the observer of yourself, of your suffering, and you start to realize, hang on, but that's not who I truly am. It's me now. There's you can't push it away and kind of pretend it's not there. And this is, I've kind of, I'm sure we all have been there, bought the t-shirt of kind of denial of, okay, but this isn't really me. So, but then it doesn't lead anywhere because it is you. The broken you is, and the healed you, it's the same system, right? And it's recognizing that, and sometimes it can be really challenging, which is why I've created like a how to run a group healing, whether you join us or you do it yourself, and to teach people in a group to sort of go, hang on a minute, what you've just said is not right. You need to, you're in some kind of illusion of, like you said, people think they're okay, but they're not, and it's teaching people how to do that. And I know there's a lot of parents with kids that aren't well, that need some process that they can, use themselves so they can start healing their kids and themselves. So it's all kind of, just teaching people how to take the basic steps and create that healing space and get enough energy to do that.
Can anybody join you at any time, or do you have kind of certain intakes over?
No, so it's basically done on a monthly rolling basis, and there's different price points. There's a kind of bronze level, which is 40 quid a month, and I also offer scholarships. If you can't afford that, then 10% of places get a 90% discount. So for like 4 quid a month, you can do the online teaching, you can join the healing groups. All the way up to how much kind of time from myself or one of my team you actually need. So it's not, and I made it so that money's not really an object, to be able to get all the teaching and the group healing. But obviously time is valuable, so I've made it so it's online recorded. supported, so people can benefit, regardless of their income.
Fabulous. And did you do something kind of normal before you set
Yes,
this
I
up?
did. I was a IT sales consultancy. So I was in sort of technology sales and technical support and selling people, selling companies, web solutions and security systems and all that kind of stuff. And then I went through my own challenges and I started learning as and I also trained as a healer as well. So I kind of like had a background already of well, what do I need to do here? I had some tools, but I realized that they weren't enough. So then you sort of look into where do you look, and then you sort of connect to your higher self or whatever, and you sort of intuitively go, yeah, I need to look into this part, and I kind of led myself. I was led to what actually works, and here we are. So yeah.
Wonderful. And like so many other people that I interview for podcast, they've come, you and they've come to the thing, as in my own case, I never dreamed I'd be a health and wellbeing mentor, but my
No.
own
Yeah.
experiences of healing cancer and kidney disease and so on.
Yes. Yes.
It's almost like we're kind of given this purpose, and we're led
Yeah.
to this purpose, and we didn't know when you were kids at school, what would you like to be? Well, fireman, policeman, whatever.
Yeah.
And here we
Yeah.
are.
No, I mean, I always remember just saying to people, I want to be a pilot or a spaceman or something, and here we are. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? And also, I'm finding that a lot of people that I'm interviewing, it seems to be round about mid-40s that there's a kind of a wake up, and
Yeah.
life is kind of, I suppose in the olden days we'd call it a midlife crisis, but it's an awakening, isn't it?
It
I
is.
find.
It is, and you sort of realise, I can't, you just can't, you can't go on like that. There's just no, it's just not possible. How it's gonna end up is, you don't know, but you know that wherever you are, whatever your, life experience is, it starts to stop making sense, right? So, and I know, and I got to a point, and I kind of slipped into insanity. It was quite it was quite a kind of slow process, and when I was going through it, I kind of didn't realize it until like quite later on, and suddenly I just realized, hang on, this is not right. This is terrible. And obviously, my family suffered, and yeah, it was a nightmare. But so I had to find a solution, or medication, basically. And I knew that having read about psychosis and spirituality and Eastern medicine and stuff, is when the pills and when the things aren't working, you've got to look somewhere else, right? And so now I've kind of got a roadmap, a kind of process that people can follow themselves. So now it's my time to kind of give it back and help people that are in some kind of suffering, a pickle, or something really, really challenging. Well, this is how you do it, and this is the process.
Cool. What kind of people do you have who are going through this process?
So I've got kids with schizophrenia, with people with bipolar, people with just spiritually lost. Like, what's the point? Why am I here? People with depression, anxiety, gut health, and it's just really showing them, well, okay, that's your current challenge. This is that's your current suffering, but it's ultimately, we and in a sort of, not in a kind of any, it's not about blame, but we kind of create it ourselves. Our psyches create, and whether it's from trauma or whatever it is, but it's still us, yeah, because not everyone has A, B, and C condition, right? And obviously there's genetics and there's loads of factors, but a lot of the stuff we can heal from within. And so when you can do that, then this is how you do it. And obviously if you break a leg, go to hospital. If you get cancer, go to your doctor. And it's not about replacing, it's filling that gap that people have, that they don't know what to do. And this is the process.
Brilliant. Touching on what you said about when we kind of brought things on ourselves, a lot of the problems, I believe, are brought on by society and the expectation that we have this hugely fast-paced world. We have the toxicity all around us in what we eat, what we drink, the environment, the pollution, etc., etc. And we're living in this toxic soup. And then suddenly, some people go down the road of medication, some people go down the road of awakening, and so on. But it's the way I approach things is through our behaviour. So I specialise in behavioural profiling, so I can tell by looking at somebody's profile what the likelihood is of them being ill, what they're likely to be ill with, if they're approaching burnout, etc., etc. And then I've got the health solutions to help them reverse it. So my approach is totally different to yours, although it's from the same point. Let's look at what the body's doing and let's find a way from within. So we are both talking the same language, but we have completely different approaches for it.
Absolutely, and ultimately, it's does it work? And yes, it does. And what you do is fantastic as well, and life saving and life changing as well. And it's guiding people. Well, this is what you need to do. So at the end of the day, as long as it works, then that's great, right?
Exactly. And there's so many different modalities, aren't there, to help people? So many of them, and it's we're just here to serve basically, and help people through our experiences. And if we can do stuff and guide other people, then wacky do, and off we go. So
indeed, yes.
There we go. So it's been lovely speaking with you, Jacob. How do people get hold of you?
So if they go to the website innerfreedom.uk, and at the moment there's a healing neurodivergence program that you can join, different depending on the investment that you can put into it. And then I'm adding others like mental illness and depression, anxiety. And ultimately, the process is the same. It's learning how to direct your healed energy intention to where it needs to be in the body, right? So whatever your challenge is, there's a way forward for you, and it's just you just need to learn how to do it, which is what I'm offering.
You mentioned neurodivergence, and that's a buzzword in these days. So can you explain what you mean about neurodivergence?
So neurodivergence. So whether it's dyslexia, some kind of on the autistic spectrum, or dyscalculia, there's something. Some barrier to your nervous system functioning optimally, right? So whether it's trouble with reading, writing, or challenging in social situations, or kind of being on the spectrum of some kind. So something's causing stress on the nervous system, right? And so in for an example being for dyslexia, that can be that there's some kind of reflex. So reflex from when we're in the womb, and a reflex, for example, is there's a reflex when for wiggling out the birth canal called the spinal galant reflex, right? And it makes you kind of wiggle when your spine is stimulated. Well, that can be, and when it's not needed anymore, it gets switched off, it gets integrated into the nervous system, right? So you don't need to do that anymore. But that can be for, because of birth trauma, it can, or trauma in later life, it can get turned on again or not turn off. So you're constantly kind of, wiggling and disquieted. And that also affects your ability to read or to write or to count. So it's finding out, well, what is causing this nervous system disturbance? It could be neurotoxins like aluminium, in the brain, causing your synapses to misfire. It can be all kinds of different things. So it's about, if you go through the healing program process, you can start to, ask your system, what is firing, not firing? Have I got excess aluminium? Okay, I do. Well, what do I do about it? So it's kind of debugging the system rather than sort of diagnosing and saying, oh, well, you've got this, that, or the other. It's not about diagnosing. It's like, you've got an issue. You might have been to the doctor, you might not have been to the doctor. That doesn't matter. But if you're having difficulty with X, Y, and Z, then there's a reason for it. And well, what is it? And then once you find out what it is, so what do you do about it? Which is, why it's a neurodivergence healing program.
Marvellous, absolutely marvellous. Thank you. So Jacob Reimann, innerfreedom.uk, thank you so much for your time today, and let's hope some listeners gain benefit and can share this message.
Look forward to it. Thank you very much. Cheers.